confident and excited are you about the career path you are pursuing? 1 to 10. All right, open your eyes. Who's below a 7? Yeah, you're not alone. 2/3 of millennials are feeling severe anxiety in the workplace, and this is what I'm here to talk to you about tonight. So what are the resources that we have today? We have a slew of career resources, but there's no consistency, there's no best practices among them, and really they're insufficient, and they're not helping us figure out what career path we're actually gonna like. In fact, 17% of students found career services very effective. So what's happening? We're stressed, we're frustrated, we're concerned, we're anxious. We can't figure out our path, and yet we're concerned about it, and we're trying. So what's happening? We're disengaged in our jobs. This is the result of this insufficient resources that we have. And disengagement, what does that look like? We're checked out, we're putting in time, but we're not feeling passionate in our jobs. In fact, 85% of employees are disengaged or actively disengaged at work. And millennials are leading the pack. Statistics after statistic is showing the same exact thing. So what are we doing because of this disengagement? Of course, naturally, we're job hopping. And by 25% of workers have 5 jobs or more. 2 out of 3 millennials are ready to quit by 2020, and Gen Z is not far behind. They're actually 3 times more likely to job hop than baby boomers. But job hopping is a Band-Aid approach. It is not a long-term strategy. Why should you care? If you find a job that you love, you're actually gonna wanna spend time doing it. You're gonna be better at it. You're gonna make more money, and you're gonna make more money faster. Also, value your time. Every club, every internship, every class, and every job that you have, you are forging your career whether you want to believe it or not. And what happens is when we rush into something, we maybe make a mistake, you're simply gonna have to go back, start over, and really just start from the bottom when you could have been in the right place to begin with and be thoughtful early on. You're also gonna be more effective in your job search if you are pursuing a path that you actually believe in and care about. The candidate who's interested and curious and excited about their path, that's the candidate who gets hired. So there's systemic issues here, but there's also things that you can do to either help or hinder your path. So let's look at what your approach is and how you can do it differently. You might be operating out of a place of stress. We all are, and sometimes we realize it, sometimes we don't. But how can you structure this process in a way where you can just figure out how to approach this like any other project? How can you figure out how to go from point A to point Z? And so rather than operating out of a place of stress, you're just approaching this like anything else in your life. You might want to choose the most secure path. But what I'm here to tell you is the most secure path is the one that you care about. If you think it's secure and you get in this job and you hate it, you're just gonna leave. So as jobs evolve, as companies evolve, as industries evolve, if you're in a place where you're actually interested and curious, that's gonna be the most secure career path you can choose. You might be telling yourself that you can't. Why not learn about what the path is that you even want before you decide whether you can or you can't? Mark Cuban tells us to figure out what we wanna do and then figure out how to be great at it. Your major. Imagine letting your major decide your career path 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years down the line. Imagine 6 or 8 or 10 extra classes, that's gonna decide your path. Just tell your story. Employers don't mind what your major is. If it helps you, that's great. If it doesn't, that's okay. Your path, right? You might be thinking, oh, I have to choose this career path. Why not just choose the next role that you're interested in? What that's gonna do is let you lead and forge a path that you don't even know what that end goal is gonna be. But if you choose the end goal today, you're actually probably not gonna end up achieving that goal because it's gonna change through time. The best way you can do it is think about where am I interested in today and what work do I wanna be doing today, and let that guide you and lead you somewhere you don't even know where it's gonna lead you. You're probably only aware of a few paths. The reality is you don't know a lot of these paths. There are so many unique, individualized, nuanced jobs out there. I mean, it blows my mind every day. So start saying, I don't know what I want when people ask you. That's okay, and just be comfortable with that. That's a better answer than just picking what you're aware of. We all think about interviewing as this thing we need to crush and just, it's a task we need to succeed in. Think about interviews as conversations. They're actually a mirror for the job and the company and the industry we're gonna be in. So what conversations do you wanna be having and with who? We're so focused on applying. Job search engines are like our best friend. I want you to be exploring rather than applying. Figure out what you want before you hit that job search engine, because the minute you apply and interview, you're setting yourself up to be in that environment. Take the time to explore before you apply so you know what you're looking for. And stop looking at what everybody else is doing. You are the person that's going to be in this job, in this path, in this future, and nobody else. Dylan tells us people seldom do what they believe in. They do what's convenient and then repent. I know that's not what we want. So how can you figure out what you want? First, we have to understand what is a job. First, it's function. So physically, what are you doing all day? You might be researching, you might be coding, you might be presenting, you might be writing, you might be teaching, right? These are the actions of what we're doing. Then there's content. Content is separate, right? So there's healthcare, there's education, there's politics, there's fashion, there's all these different areas of the world, topics. So if you were researching, you could be researching anything. If you were teaching, you could be teaching anything, right? We have to separate these two things. An environment. This is the culture, this is the logistics. What does the company look and feel like? What is it? Who are the people around you? How big is this environment? And guess what? This is literally what a job is. Its role, its industry, its culture, and you have to separate these things when you think about what you want to be doing. So here is the solution, here's the formula, right? The first step you have to be doing is get motivated and stay accountable. Realize that there's a process ahead of you, but you just need to decide to take that journey. That is step number one. Continue to reflect. So we just spoke about function, content, and environment. The reflections that you're gonna have on what you wanna be doing, what functions you wanna be doing, and what content areas you like, that's gonna continue through time. So keep reflecting. Next, you need to learn. So research, networking as a way to learn, experiential learning, and hands-on exposure with these roles, and then reflect and iterate. So if you have an experience, a club, an internship, or a job that you don't like, that's okay. Just weed out that option and get closer and closer and closer to the options that you do like. So it's an iterative process until you feel clarity and confidence on the job you want to pursue. Remember your drivers. Remember those mindsets that we spoke about. So if you're operating out of a place of stress, or you're looking at other people, sometimes as we go through this iterative process, we can fall back into these habits. So my drivers are leading with interest and intuition. And remember that these drivers will lead to your outcomes. They'll lead to these impacts on your life. So remember why you're making these decisions. And persistence and patience. This takes time, but you just have to trust yourself, trust the process, have confidence in yourself to be able to continue to pursue this path, even though it might take some time. So lastly, don't accept what was handed to you. Seek out your options. Explore what you don't know. Don't just take what you're receiving. Put on your wings. Allow yourself the opportunity to figure out what is there ahead of you and what you have to explore. And if you don't put on your wings, you just can't fly. Embrace the unknown. If you step onto a road that you don't know where it's going to lead, just feel comfort in that discomfort. Realize you don't know where things are going to end up, but that's a decision that you can just actively make and feel comfortable with it. The sooner you accept that, the sooner you can explore where it's going to lead you. And never lose your sense of wonder. So, you might get in a job and it might not be perfect, but this process doesn't end. You have to iterate through time and come back to this and reflect again and figure out what are you curious about as you change and as the world changes. So I've coached and I've been coached. I've job searched well, I've job searched poorly. I've worked in companies I've hated and companies I've loved, and I've seen everything when it comes to job searching. But most of all, I've been through this process. I've led with my interest and my intuition, and I have found clarity and confidence in the path that I want to pursue. So I can safely say that today, on my 28th birthday, I feel passionate about helping you find your path.